Right, welcome back to the channel everyone. So today we're back out on the Voge AC525x and I'm quite really in a privileged position because I've now had two bikes that I've been lent for an extended period of time. So I've actually got this bike for over a week. So it means you can take it out, you don't have to panic and rush everything all through in an hour and scramble to gather some kind of opinion. I can ride this bike on different roads, different weather, different times of day, and just get a feel for what it's actually like, and it's so good. And I just say thank you to MotoGB for lending me this bike because it just makes this whole thing a lot less stressful and a lot easier. So thank you for lending me the bike. Now, I'm a previous owner of a Voge motorcycle. I had the 500 DSX, so I'm familiar with the brand. I understand the good bits and the not so good bits. The 525 is a newish variant, so they released it a couple of months ago. It is a scrambler, and they're obviously hopping on the trend that scrambler bikes are extremely popular at the moment. So what you've got essentially is the true 500cc parallel twin. So before it was 471 cc's, it's now 23 cc's increased up to 494. It's bang on the nose of a 500 twin. 47 horsepower, but the torque has been increased compared to the previous variants of this bike. Other cool things, premium components are smattered over Voge, and it is the case in the whole range. Basically, the Scrambler isn't an exception. You've got the KYB upside down forks, which are non-adjustable, but they are a premium manufacturer. Nissin dual discs and calipers. So they're 298mm discs, and that is something which sets the Voge a little bit apart compared to other scramblers at this price point. Normally you see a scrambler, you know, chucked on a single disc. You got two up there, so braking is never a worry on one of these machines. At the back you got 240, and you've got, being a scrambler, wire spoke wheels, 19 at the rear, wrong, 19 at the front, 17 at the rear. And one of the improvements they've made, which I really like, is they've now put right angled valves onto the wheels. So before it was such a pig wrangling this air hose in amongst the spokes, try and get it onto the valve. Now it'd be really easy, so that's an improvement. They've got tubeless tyres, and if you take the tyre off that, you'll notice they've got tyre pressure monitoring attached to the alloy, or the wheel rim, should we say, but also they've got a sort of banding there, which means that no air is going to escape through the spokes, so there's no tube inside. I know this for a fact because I've changed the wheels and tyres on my previous Voge. Of course, the styling of the bike is very subjective, but you have got this lovely matte grey with the yellow highlights. There's also a version that's black with yellow highlights. At the back here you've got this beaver-tailed rear section with a very long and thin LED light. So if I just power this on and then we tap the brake, oops, you'll see this flash up here. This is a bit like a Triumph Trident. Underneath the seat you've actually got some space to store a sandwich or your phone or something like that. A lot of bikes these days don't have any storage under the seat. These grab handles for the passenger, really nice because they are strong and sturdy, but they're not obtrusive. And very cleverly, there's a little hole under here which allows you to put a bungee, so you can actually strap stuff to the back of the bike. And how clever is that? A little hole there so a bungee can be clipped onto it, and that's how I've used a bag with two bungees to carry the camera equipment to film this today. So top marks for that. Let's get on the bike, and I'll just jump on these pegs, which are vibration dampened with rubber inserts. Now I have got an over 90-degree bend in the knee, but the good thing about the bike is there's not really a reach to get to the bars. So I don't like it when you're stretching and you're like clamshelled over like that. On this bike you've got a comfortable seat, comfortable riding position, and you don't have to stretch the bars. That's a real great feature of the Voge. The screen is non-adjustable and it's quite a small fly screen. It does prevent a little bit of the buffeting to the body, but you don't get any wind problem in the visor. And that's something I've suffered from on pretty much every bike I've ridden. I always get wind deflection, unless it's totally naked, but wind coming up, bashing all about the visor and giving me an earache. You don't get that with this little screen, so you get a little bit of protection, but you don't get any of the downsides to it. So the screen gets top marks from me. I mentioned before that the switchgear is really fancy on this bike. It is plastic, but it's got a very high quality feel to it. It's in line with the rest of the bike. It's a high quality fit and finish. And the indicators and other little bits and bobs are all LED, really nice. The fittings, as I mentioned in the previous video, all have a certain quality about them and they don't look like they would degrade or rust. So from my previous ownership experience, I had one bolt which went rusty and a few that went furry over 10,000 miles and 2 years of ownership, and I used the bike in snow and ice and things like that, so I did give it a good test. Okay, so what's the bike I actually like to ride? Well, the parallel twin is more than enough on the road. You can pull off overtakes. It'd probably do 100 miles an hour, possibly a little bit more because it's upped in capacity compared to the previous bike. It is punchy, it sounds nice, the exhaust pops a little bit on overrun. 6 gears slot into place really nicely, so you've got no worries there. It's just a really nice bike to ride. I find the suspension is quite firm, but then that aids the handling. It's a plus point for me. Would I take it on this muddy track up here? Probably not, but just for riding around on the roads and maybe the odd dirt track in the dry, it would be much better. Then yeah, this bike's going to be fantastic. However, all that being said, the bike in isolation is absolutely fantastic. I would be proud to own this motorcycle. I've looked outside the house and I've just looked admiringly at this bike as it's been outside. I think the fit and finish is lovely up close. It just feels great. It feels nice to ride. It's comfortable. It's just brilliant. However, this bike doesn't exist in isolation, and if you're going to spend £5,799, then there is going to be some other consideration for motorcycles that are in this price point and style category. And unfortunately for Voge, there's quite a few bikes from the established manufacturers and from the newer bikes coming from China that fulfill that basic category. Now, let's consider the Voge is 47 horsepower. Let's call it 5.8, so 5.8k on the road. If you were to step up to 7k, the Moto Morini Sesi Mezzo 6.5 SCR, which is obviously short for Scrambler, that's got a 700cc parallel twin, so it's got more punch, but you're paying a good £1,200 more for that bike. I also don't think it's as nice finished as the Voge. It also has a very slick TFT, so the Morini and the Voge both have a nice TFT, and I'm not sure the suspension is as premium. However, the suspension turrets are gold or the struts are gold on the Morini, which some people prefer the look of. Now, other than that, you've got some singles. You've got the Fantech Caballero 500, which is £6,749, so it's a bang on £1,000 more expensive than the Voge. You get a single. Now the single is the Zongshen NC450 lump. The bike itself is Italian designed and assembled, so it's very stylish. However, owners report there are reliability issues with the actual motor. The other thing about the Caballero is the screen, the dash and instrument cluster is LCD, which is a little bit dated, and it's a lot smaller and more fiddly to read. You don't have that kind of premium feel. So the Caballero is a popular bike. The Caballero also has better tyres out of factory. You've got Pirelli Scorpion STRs on there, Scorpion Rally STRs I think they're called, but they give you a lot more grip off-road than the Metzlers do. Another bike which is a single, which is up and coming, which is going to be quite competitive, is the Triumph 400X Scrambler, or Scrambler 400X. That's a water-cooled single cylinder. You're at 399 cc's there, So you're almost a whole 100 cc's lower in capacity than the Voge, and you're a single, going to be a little bit buzzy, high compression ratio. You'll have a single disc up front. You've still got 19 and 17 wire spoke wheels. The Triumph also doesn't have a nice display, so it will feel a little bit more budget, but the Triumph is going to be something that sells well because Triumph is an established brand. Another bike which is potentially a competitor for the Voge is the CF Moto. So if we consider China's own competition, the CF Moto CLX 700 Adventure. That's again the Kawasaki parallel twin, up to 700 cc's, and you've got the wide spoke wheels, raised ride height, and you don't have a nice dash on that bike either, so it won't feel quite as premium. Switch gear also on the CF Motos isn't quite as swish and as fancy as Voge. Of all the bikes I mentioned, I think the Voge has got the nicest switch gear and kind of control surfaces. And finally, from established Japanese manufacturer, you've got the new Honda Scrambler, the 500 Scrambler. I think that's, I don't know what the actual nomenclature is, CL 500X or something like that. I don't particularly like that bike. It just doesn't really do anything for me. I think you've got the 471cc version of the engine, single disc up front. You won't have the premium LCD or the premium suspension components. You might actually have Showa. I don't know the details of it. You might have the Showa separate fork function suspension on the front. But I just don't think that the Honda is as good as the Voge. Okay, the Honda's got the name and brand recognition, but I just don't think it's as good a bike as the Voge. So as you can see, you've got this kind of massive playing field of different bikes that are all kind of competing for market share. Where the Voge does well is the fit and finish and the premium componentry. So if you notice, they use established components like the KYB forks. They've got this motor here which is essentially based off a Honda design, but it's upped in capacity, reliable as the day is long. And then you've got nice features here like the TFT display, and then quirky design things like the handholds, the upswept exhaust, and yeah, overall I think where Voge competes is it's a quality feeling product. So you've got an array of bikes I just mentioned, but if you are in the market for a Scrambler, then go and test ride a Voge, because I just think that you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's a bike that you can quite easily fall in love with. Alright guys, well I'm going to end the video there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have got any questions about the bike, then please let me know. I'd really appreciate any questions or comments, and I'll do my best, as I always do, to try and answer them for you. But until next time guys, I'm going to go and enjoy the ride, and yeah, thanks a lot, and I appreciate you watching this video.